I wanted to talk today a little bit about my day. It's been a crazy day already. It's still fairly early in the morning. It's just 10 o'clock, so it's already been a pretty crazy day. We mixed up the dates. I mixed up the dates on an appointment, a very important appointment of my son's. And when we have important appointments, because I don't really have any support, and the support that I do have, what little I do have, they have their own families and kids and stuff. And, I already lean pretty hard on them for, going to get groceries and stuff like that. So I lean pretty hard on his dad and his paternal grandparents, especially his paternal grandparents. They have rescued us from a lot of despairing positions. Um, but to make a long story short, this whole thing was very unfamiliar to my son. He has anxiety, and his anxiety usually sets off my anxiety for various reasons. And then that just kind of gets the dominoes falling. You know what I mean? Like things just start kind of going to crap from there. But once we realized that I mixed up the dates, I called his dad back to come get us. He had dropped us off there. And, I felt bad, but I mean, like, it was an honest mistake. I wasn't trying to be malicious and, get people to do things that they didn't want to do just because. I didn't plan to screw up so badly. But then when we got back, we realized that it was early enough for my son to go to school, right? So I asked his dad, can you just bring him to school? I'll feed him something real quick in the truck because he hadn't eaten anything because of the nature of his appointment. And he's like, yeah, I could do that. I was kind of surprised about, how agreeable he was, but that's besides the point. So I was feeding my son, a little bit of food before he left for school. And then his dad was like, can't the bus just come get him because it's early? Like, school doesn't start for a while. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. So I texted his bus driver, who I had already texted that his dad was taking him to school. She didn't answer. So I didn't really know what to do. I knew his dad was getting antsy. He's not a patient man. So I just told him, hey, like, I'm sure she'll answer. If you need to get out of here, you can get out of here, and we'll just wait for her to answer, and hopefully she'll come. Well, she didn't. And I'm like, I want my son to go to school because he can go to school. He doesn't need to take the day off, right? So I sent him a message to ask if he could come back and pick our son up. If you're wondering about the cards, it's something that I do to keep my mind from wandering to other things so that I can keep my train of thought. It's something to do with my hands. It's ADHD, right? I will do readings for other people, but that's not what this is for. Just to clarify. So I will show them to you if I'm called to, though. So he had left. The bus did not come. She did not get the text message, which is understandable. She's hauling babies, right? She can't very well be on her cell phone while she's hauling babies around the city. So I called his dad to come back. I'm like, can you come back and grab him? If you can't, that's cool. So he gets to play hooky today. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to worry about it. And he was just like, yeah, I can come back and get him. And as we were waiting, it was finally a time where I could breathe, right? I realized the change in my reaction, my response, and my behavior in these types of situations. Even a month ago, I would have been losing my shit. I would have been shaking. I would have been either near tears or in tears. And, you know, it would have set my whole day up to just be negative because I would be so upset. And I was trying to figure out what the change was. I would have gotten upset before because I would have been worried about his dad. Now, I'm not blaming his dad right now in this situation. I am saying that, you know, pertaining to some of my earlier videos, I would worry about him being mad at me for screwing up, for making a mistake, for then other things out of my control happening, like his bus driver not getting the text and not coming to pick him up. That's not in my control, you know? And all I did was ask his dad if he could come back and get him. And I realized that this time, where I had never realized it before. So it almost like kind of, you know, kind of drove that point home in my brain. How incredibly important it is to love yourself enough not to worry about how other people are going to react to situations, to your making mistakes, to your behavior, anything, right? Obviously, I don't mean if you are being intentionally toxic, right? Obviously, you already don't care what other people think, right? But it just showed me the difference that loving myself has made. I loved myself enough not to worry about if his dad was going to be mad at me, and not to worry about if, you know, the school was going to be like, get your shit together, you know? I didn't worry about anybody else. All I worried about was letting my son know what an amazing job he did. And he did. And letting myself know that I did a really good job too. I did a really good job. I didn't get mad at anybody, least of all myself. It was a mistake. And now my son is at school and I get to go about my day the way I normally would, in a good energy, in a loving, productive energy, instead of sitting on my couch, drained, depressed, all up in anxiety because I made a mistake, right? I don't need to worry about what other people's reactions to my mistakes or situations happening are going to be. I don't have to worry about any of it because I love myself and I know my intentions were good, that I didn't have any ill intention. I didn't do anything bad on purpose. I didn't forget things on purpose. I didn't want to make his dad's life hard. I didn't, you know? Self-love and patience. Patience was my hardest lesson, and I'm just starting to realize that I'm learning it. Having patience for yourself when nobody had patience for you your entire life is hard. But my God, once you get it, it feels so liberating. I feel free because I didn't have to shame and scold myself for making a mistake. I feel free because I didn't have to worry about other people's reactions and responses to that mistake. And I feel free because I got to love on my son for doing such a good job. And now everything's actually worked itself out, and I get to love on myself for the rest of the day until my little guy gets home. I guess the point that I'm trying to make to you and why I'm sharing this video is it's really important to love yourself and be patient with yourself and know that things happen in life, and we don't need to let it ruin our day. We don't need to let it ruin relationships. We don't need to let it ruin everything, right? Because anxiety tends to do that. Love yourself. Forgive yourself. Understand that you are human. And if you had a childhood like mine, you weren't taught how to be patient with yourself or with others. You weren't taught how to love yourself. In fact, you were taught the opposite. You weren't taught how to take things in stride and take them as they come, deal with them as such, and then move on with your day in the same energy you started it in, right? It's possible. It's possible. And it all starts with loving yourself. There's nothing in the world that can take real, true love for yourself away from you. No one and nothing can take it once you have it, once you really have it, and you'll know. I know. The change, especially in the past week, I'm assuming it has to do with the full moon. Just the change alone in the past week that I've noticed was evidence enough for me. And I really feel like I needed to get this message out for other people who are struggling with what I struggled with. Any little thing went wrong. Tears, shame, anger. I was so mad all the time because I kept screwing up and I just couldn't do it right. And just like, what's right? If you look around and you really look around, you don't look around with that, those glasses that tell you that everybody else is doing better than you are and everybody else knows what they're doing, but you don't. It's not true. Nobody really knows what they're doing. We're all kind of just fumbling through this life, right? But if you love yourself, possibly negative situations that come up, they're not going to affect how you feel about you, and you're still going to love yourself. So you do what you got to do to get through it, and it's not a big deal. Not like it was before. I love you.